Hey everyone, and welcome to the Actorzilla podcast. I'm your host, James Larson, and today we have on Kevin R. Free.
Hello.
Kevin is the artistic director of Mile Square Theater, and he's also a multi-hyphenate artist, a producer, a director, an actor, a writer, an audiobook narrator. Did I leave anything out, or is there more to that?
I mean, you didn't call me a punk.
That might be at the end. That might come.
But that's
Yeah. That'll be added by the end for sure.
all those hyphens. Maybe just underachiever would be.
What an underachiever. I'm
is
on
the
your.
most correct.
Yeah. Clearly, you're not busy enough. You need more to do.
Yeah, I got an email from somebody a few months ago saying, asking me what my problem was. That I needed to sit down somewhere. I needed to just sit down.
You need to sit down.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. So I'm kind of curious with all those titles. I'd love to hear a bit about your journey. I think on your website you said that you started as an actor.
Yeah. An actor singer. I had always wanted to do a Broadway musical. When I was growing up, that was what I moved to New York to be a musical comedy star. That was like what I thought was the thing. And when I didn't book a Broadway show, and I guess I'm not ruling it out as a possibility now, but it's also something that I'm less interested in. As far as the grind is concerned of 8 shows a week, my almost 55-year-old body. But I always wanted to do a Broadway musical, and when that didn't seem to be happening, I just started saying yes to all the other jobs that people would offer me. I think, looking back on all of the work that I did that has brought me to here, what I think people were seeing in me when they were offering me other kinds of work was that I'm a leader, and that is, I think that is the superpower, is that I am good at setting people at ease when the sky feels like it's falling, and making decisions about the emergency decisions that come from producing theater and whatnot that don't feel like actually emergencies because nobody's going to the hospital. But I'm good at making those decisions, and then I'm also good at making decisions that put humanity first, that put people first, which of course is where we are in history, I think, in the theater game, which is great. So I think that, people offered me things. Hey, do you want to do a reading? Do you want to direct a reading? Do you want to teach these young people? And then from doing that, the big people thought, oh, he knows what he's doing, so let's give him leadership positions. So then I became an education director, and then really started directing things, but not really saying that I was a director. And it was around 2017 when I said out loud that I was a director that my directing career took off in the way that I wished that my acting career had taken off all those years ago. And I think that is because the universe knew that I was meant to be a leader. And so when I said I wanted to be a director, then all of a sudden all this work came to me. And here I am, 55, actually pursuing a career as a director.
That's amazing. So you think director is like your main? Is that like? I know you're multi hyphenate, but
yeah,
is director leading the charge for you right now?
Yeah. I mean, I love audiobooks. The audiobooks, I get to scratch the acting itch, and I get to play all the characters. So that
Right.
part is that part appeals to both my ego and just like the actor itch. So I think it's directing and audiobooks are the things that are leading the charge, to use your parlance. I love being a director in a way that I never loved being an actor.
What about it?
Yeah, what about it? Well, first, as a director, I'm not afraid of collaboration. I'm not afraid of listening to other people's ideas. I'm not afraid of being voted down. I'm not afraid of disagreement. I'm not afraid, when people say, "Oh, you know what? I think this is a better idea for this moment." I don't have any ego about any of that, and that feels really nice. I don't. As an actor, and you know this, as an actor, there's so much insecurity. I did a wrong thing in rehearsal, and I said the wrong thing in rehearsal, so they'll never hire me again. And then you're not in the moment anymore, and then that ruins all of your work. And then you get to tech rehearsal, and you forget that tech rehearsal isn't about you. It's about the director and the director's creative team making decisions to make you look good. But you still, as an actor, feel very like, why are they paying attention to me? Did I do something wrong? Is it terrible? I mean, this is all just, it's par for the course for actors. And I love actors. And I, as a director, remind them all the time, I know that you are creating complex emotion all the time. I know it, and I understand it. And I know that when I give you an adjustment, it feels personal, because your body doesn't know the difference between something that you've made up and what is true to you, even if it's real. I totally understand that, and I, as an actor, know it and hate it. I hate it.
Right.
I just hate the insecurity that comes from being an actor, and that's separate from auditions. I loved auditioning. That auditions are fun for me.
You did?
Man.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I get to do a whole show for somebody in a room like that. That part is really great. I'm so good at looking at a script, and they give me a thing. I'm great at making choices and just like going for it. Like I love that. I loved that. I also, as an actor, never had any doubt that I would have a career. I was never that. I mean, I think that's divine. I think God, the universe, gave me that. Like, I just never was like, oh, yes, I've been waiting tables for six months, but I'm going to have a job. It's going to be right around the corner. I never had any doubt that I would work. But when I started working, it was, did I make the right choice in that scene? I don't know. I think my voice sounded funny in that moment. My accent is inconsistent. I'm the worst. It was so easy to put myself down as an actor, and it was really unfair to myself. But as a director, I have ideas. I express those ideas. I try to see if they'll work, and sometimes they do. And I like looking at other humans and saying, so here's what I think this moment is about. How can we make that happen?
Right.
I like telling a playwright of a new play, here's the feeling that I got when I read the play. Here's what I saw when I read it. Let's try to visualize what the scenic design would look like, or what I'm totally into that. I love it, and I don't ever, even if people disagree with me, I don't ever feel terrible about the disagreements. And I also never get tired of taking responsibility. Not afraid to do that.
What do you mean by taking responsibility?
If I make a mistake, a mistake for something, about something, I don't need to be right in the same way. And I don't need to pass the buck in the same way. I'm ready. I'm okay. Even as an artistic director running a whole organization, if something goes wrong, I'm happy to be the person to say, that's my fault. I failed.
Right.
Even if I feel terrible about my failure, I'm just really, as a director, I'm much better as a leader. I'm much better at accepting failure as a part of the process, and not as the end of the process.
I love that. Failure is a part of the process. I'm writing it down. That's how important I thought that was.
Oh, great. Thank you. Wow.
Failure is a part of the process, not
not the end of a
At
process.
the end. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I have the same kind of philosophy, I guess, too, that failure is not, what is that? Failure is not fatal, or whatever that quote is.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I think it's so important in the creative arts because it's like, to me, that's fun. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of the work, especially because I think as an actor, the best part is the rehearsal process, because you're discovering, you're connecting with people, maybe you meet new actors, and you get to be in the thick of it. And I think that's the fun part. And I think you can't go into that process being like, I know how everything's going to happen. I know how everything's going to work. Like, that's not art, I mean, art is like
Right.
getting in the thick of it and disagreeing and being okay with that. And obviously it depends on the room. And I'm sure you've been in a lot of different rehearsal rooms, and there's different vibes on each, with each rehearsal process, with each, depending on who you have in the room. Do you have like, obviously you are involved in casting all these shows. Like, do you look for particular things in actors when you're auditioning people?
Yes. It is also, it's different for different organizations or processes. I mean, I have a strict no asshole policy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't, you know, I like to find out from people what the people that I love, how they are in rehearsal and how they are in a room. Are they good collaborators? Are they people who only think about themselves? And I ask those questions. I like to engage people in conversation when they come in to audition,
Right.
because I want to know, are they, for lack of a better expression, robots? I used to tell students, you're not a robot. Don't come in and just like, my name is da 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 da, and I'm going to do a monologue from ba 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 ba. Come in with an open heart and look around the room, and like, if you like the shirt that somebody's wearing, say it. If you like a picture that's on the wall, say it. If you just, be yourself when you come in, because ultimately you're going to spend more time as yourself in the room with the director than you are as the character when you're there. So like, if you come in the room and you're just like fun, then the director might want to spend time with you for 7 hours a day. Like,
Right.
And so there is something to be said for personality, for humanity when people come in. I like to, and what that is for me is also leaving room for catharsis, because in processes now there are people, I try to do a consent-based practice so that we're talking from the first day about consent and where one can be touched and that kind of thing. And so I want to make sure that the people who are coming in the room not only made theater 100 years ago in 2019, but have made theater post 2020, and are on board with some of the positive changes that have happened in the American theater. So there's that. I like to engage in conversation just to find out about that kind of stuff. And then I don't care about social media and the number of followers that people have. But if I'm doing an independent theater project, or I'm doing something at my theater, my small theater in Hoboken, New Jersey, I like to see if you have a social media presence. I want to know, are you at least posting pictures of your castmates? I don't need you to promote the show in the same way that our job is to promote the show, but I would like to be able to cast people who would be talking about doing a show.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of posting on social media either, but I do post about the work that I'm doing. And for me, it's less about promoting the show and more about putting the name of the theater or the name of the play out in the world. So like, even if you don't post through rehearsal and whatnot, that you post it when it closes. I just did this amazing play. This is what it was. It was at Miles Square Theater. You know, like I just want to see what your social media presence is like. What else do I look for? I mean, clearly I look for good actors, but that is also so subjective, that I am less concerned about making a good play. I think I cast well. So I'm less concerned about, you know, is this play going to be good? And more about, is this play going to mean something to all of us by the end of it? Is it going to be a thing that we wish would never end? Is it going to be a thing or is it going to be a thing that we wish had ended after the first day?
Is that about like matching the personalities in the room, or just matching the person to the part, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's both. You know, I just directed The Play That Goes Wrong up at Portland Stage. And it was really important to us to have people who could not only do the physical comedy, who could do comedy at all, but it was also about people who were game to figure out how to do this play, not off-Broadway or on Broadway, but, you know, using consent and intimacy practices for now, and who would be willing and able to have a good time in that room. Like, it's a really funny play, and as we rehearsed, we made each other laugh so much. And it was important to me, you know, I work a lot with people or I have worked a lot with people who are only about work at all times. There's never a moment where they stop and tell a story. There's never a moment where they're part of a group thing. Like, there's never a moment. And I think that feels like the hardest part about work. When you're not when you're not allowed, you don't allow yourself to have any humor while you're working, to me it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel like a world that I want to be in. It's not a world I want to lead. I want us to do the work. I want us to have a good time while we're doing the work. You know, and our production of The Play That Goes Wrong is really, it's my favorite thing that I've directed in a really long time. Because I feel like we made something really funny and really good, and The Play That Goes Wrong is about that thing that we all learned when we were learning to make theater, and that is that the show must go on. And somewhere along the line, the show must go on became very toxic, right? So like,
right.
we're missing funerals, and we're missing weddings, and we're missing milestones in our children's lives because the show must go on. We're singing while we're sick and hurting our voices. Like, we're doing all of these things that we really just shouldn't do. If you're in any other business, you get that time off.
Right.
you right. It just, you know, so The Play That Goes Wrong is about that thing that has become toxic in our community, and that is that the show must go on at all costs. But the beauty of The Play That Goes Wrong, the other side of it, is about that moment that we realized, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do with my life. This is that conversation between audience and performer that feels like that you just get bitten by that bug, by that feeling of, oh my gosh, I did something that made people laugh. And also, oh my gosh, I did an entire thing and everything went wrong, but it was still really wonderful. Look at how great it was. And here we were in 2024 making this play, knowing that if somebody got hurt, we would stop. That if somebody got sick, we wouldn't do a show. That if somebody had a funeral to go to, we wouldn't do a show. We knew all of this going in. We also knew that we were good at our jobs. And so we weren't worried so much about, is the play going to be good? We were just really worried about, moment to moment making the play. So I feel like, yeah, I'm looking for collaborators who are willing and who are not afraid to be human with other collaborators, who are not afraid to be vulnerable.
Right.
That's the tea, James. That's the tea.
I love that. I always tell people that, it's not about being on all the time. Like, I don't know if you know those kind of people in this industry that, you know what I mean? They're always performing for other people when it's, and they're not on stage. I'm like, just be a person. Just, how are you doing? And I've always been that kind of person in the industry, and I value that in other people too. I think, I think it's more accepted now too, I guess, to be yourself, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, I just want to say that I might be one of those people who's always on.
I don't think so. I think you seem down to earth and cool to me, but
I think maybe
we'll find out by the end. No, I'm just kidding. We'll find out. Yeah.
Okay, definitely. And please let me know your assessment.
Yeah, I will. I love that play too. I'm kind of curious, like, what do they do for regional productions? Because the set was a huge part of the Broadway production. So, like, does regional theater have that set or no?
We had. I mean, it was designed. In our production at Portland Stage, it was designed by the artistic director, who is a scenic designer, Anita Stewart, and we started with a document where she created an Excel document that just said, here are the tricks that work with the set, and then we decided which ones we were going to do as we rehearsed. And then, there were things that we knew that we couldn't do, like at the end of the play, the character of Jonathan enters through that door on the upper level and grabs onto a lighting truss that has come down, and then he swings around to the door, and she said, we're not gonna do this. That's not a thing we're going to do. And I was like, okay, that's great. So, as they were building the set, we had regular meetings with the technical director and the associate technical director about how they were building things, and we were explaining to them, this is how we think it works. We also had this really great movement coordinator who had been a clown, who had been a mime and a clown for years, who said, here's how we can accomplish some of these tricks. And so the walls fall down and everything. So it's, some days the walls don't fall.
It is called The Play That Goes Wrong, right? So
there have been a couple of performances where the walls did not fall. That was sort of, and every time something like that fails, like, we have to have a conversation with the actors, like, what they ask, well, what do we do if that happens again? Like, what if we, like, what do we do? What do we do? And I said, okay, here's what we do. I kind of felt as though with this whole process, it was nice because I didn't feel like the actors had any problems asking for leadership and asking questions like, how do we want this to be safe? So if the wall looks like it's not going to fall, is it going to fall? Like, if it falls late, was it ever going to fall late? And so we had to make a decision about making sure that if it didn't fall when it was supposed to fall, that they were locked in place, so that there was no chance of them falling at a different time.
Right.
So. Yeah, we did the whole set. We did the whole thing. And then decided from there what worked and what didn't. And the script tells you when you're allowed to improvise some things, and because of that, there are other things that are improvised in our production that are not the same every day. And then there are other moments where, in the improvisation that happened during rehearsal, it has now become that thing every performance. Because the actors in this production are so professional and so accomplished and so smart. Like, it just really, I don't have any bad things to say about this process of actually going back to Maine to see it on Sunday to see the closing performance.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is this your? Are you drawn to a certain type of project to direct, or is it, or do you have another process?
Yeah. Yes, I'm drawn to them, but they offered it to me, and I was surprised. Because I like the play, and it just sort of, I'm a black queer director who does a lot of black queer work, black and or queer work. To be invited to direct the play that goes wrong was like, oh wait, me, oh okay.
Had you worked there before as a director?
Oh yeah, this is my.
Okay.
I think this is my 6th play there.
Oh wow.
I've worked there every year since 2017, with the exception of 2020. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love Portland, Maine, but I do have to say I'm from Portland, Oregon, so I don't know if there's beef between between the Portlands. I know like Portland, Maine was first, obviously, but
Yeah.
Portland, Maine's beautiful though.
I think there is beef, and the beef is when you're in Portland, Maine, and sometimes Google doesn't know you're in Portland, Maine. So like it gives you search results from Portland, Oregon.
Right.
So I mean, I think the beef is between Google and the people of Portland, Maine.
Oh, I heard a story where a woman got on a plane and thought she was going to Oregon, and she went to Portland, Maine. She had no idea until she got there. That's probably a Google. I'm going to blame Google for that one too.
Let's blame Google. Why not? Why not? Google, we're going to get you.
We're going to get you in this podcast.
This is the truth-telling, the Google truth-telling podcast.
Yeah. Google's not going to rank this episode now because any talking smack about Google, I'm sure it's delisted. It's not going to work.
Oh, boy.
So what brought you to Mile Square Theatre?
Yeah. In 2019, I directed a production of Pipeline there, and had a lovely experience doing that. And they invited me back to direct. In 2020, I directed a film version of the radio play of It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life, not Wife. It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a sequel, yeah.
That's the sequel right there. Yeah, that's it. So during the pandemic, for about a year and a half, actually, starting in June right after George Floyd was murdered, I started producing an online variety show called The Reparation Show. And it was an online variety show. Then there was a different host every week, unified by the same kind of graphics that we had every week. And then I would do a segment called This Week in Reparations. And in my little segment, I thanked the host for being on the show, and then I talked about anything, whatever, it didn't matter. But on one episode in late 2020 or early 2021, I had the founder of Mile Square Theatre on the show, Chris O'Connor, and asked him about a number of things, and he mentioned in our conversation that they now had a succession plan because he was planning to step down, and they thought that it would be time for the organization to be led by a person of color. And he sort of made a joke, like, maybe hint, hint, that somebody I know might want to apply for that job. And then when they posted the job, he texted me and said, "We posted this job. I don't know if you're interested in applying." So I did apply, and then I got the job. So that's what brought me there. We're a small outfit, and I want us to be focusing on new and gently used plays. And I want playwrights to feel like we're a place for them to try out new stuff. And we're right across the river. We're right in Hoboken, which is so close to the city. And, we don't focus on bringing people from the city to see the shows, but we do, because we don't think that we don't think that a lot of people are doing that. Excuse me 1 second. What's up? Oh, okay, that's fine. Just close the door. Thank you. That's my husband. He's going to be making a smoothie, and he was afraid it was going to be a bad thing. You can hear the blender now.
Is it a Vitamix or no? I'm just kidding.
It actually it's the NutriBullet, but it's the big the blender. Right. So he's making a smoothie because he's trying to make me feel guilty for not being on a diet right now.
It's a guilt smoothie.
It's a guilt smoothie because I've basically given up being an actor, but I still think the world revolves around me. So of course, why would he make a smoothie for his own nutrition?
Right.
It has to be for me. It has to be about me. Thank you for letting me walk down this little path while he's blending. I'll go back to my Miles Square story in a second. Unless you're broadcasting this live to the world right now.
This is going live. This is in Times Square right now. Yeah, this is right. This is on the Lion King, the facade.
Wow. Good,
I have
good
connections.
For me. Good for you. Good for us.
Good for us.
You're so dry. It's so funny. Okay, so at Miles Square Theater, I want us to be focusing on new and gently used plays. Oh, and there it goes again.
It's really not. I can't hear it that well.
Oh, you can't. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm really focused on the new plays and the gently used plays, and we're not begging people from Manhattan to come see our shows, but we are telling playwrights, hey, here's a place for you to submit your new work, because we're a regional theater and we're 7 minutes from Manhattan. So if you write a play and we produce it and you think that it's ready for a commercial production, we are happy to offer industry comps to all the people you'd like to come out to see the play, because it just puts us more on the map when you do that. And yeah,
and it's right there. I mean, it's an easy sell as far as a regional theater goes.
Yeah, right. It's not like anybody has to get on a plane,
right,
to come see a show at the theater. But I think I think we've made some courageous decisions since I've been there, and we are in the process of making some more courageous decisions about programming and presenting work there.
Is there a certain type of work that the theater, that if you're a playwright listening, is there a certain type of play you guys look for, or just a good play, or?
Yeah, we look for small cast plays, unfortunately.
Which is how big for?
Less than 5.
Less than 5. Okay.
Less than 5 people. 5 people. So they can be playing, 1 million characters, but we want fewer than 5 actors in the plays for now. Our contract is the Actors Equity Special Appearance contract, which means we get 3 equity contracts per production. So that also often includes our resident stage manager. So, so there's that. And then we're... right now, I want comedies. I don't mind if those comedies are also about the world, but I love a good comedy. We did the world premiere of a hip-hop musical called Puerto Rican in March of 2023. And it was a huge success for us. It brought in lots of new audience members and was really exciting because it was hip-hop. There was a beatboxer on stage who created all of the sounds
Oh, wow.
On stage. It was just really very exciting. And so we're actively looking for work that will appeal to that audience for next season. We think we're going, at this point, we think we're going to be producing a world premiere musical, a very small cast musical, which will be the first time I think this organization has produced a musical. Well, Puerto Rican was the first musical that we produced, I think. A play that is able to, so our mandate is for our creative teams to be half of color. I like to say half of marginalized community, and we like to be able to cast our plays in the same way. So if you have something to send me that is like that, and it's funny, that we can cast with anybody, that would be great. What else? I don't know. I think I'm easy to find. My email address on the website of our theater is my email address.
Right.
So you can reach out to me and say, hey, I have this play. Here are the first 10 pages. And just send it to me, and then I'll read it when I get to it. I'm reading so many things that it's hard to get to everything, but I'll read it when I get to it and get back to you when I can. I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. I never know what I'm going to love. I never know what I'm going to love and what I'm going to want. But, next season we're trying to choose things that are kind of recognizable intellectual properties, so that we can sell more tickets, so that the following season, I feel like, we'll do like a season of like more obscure titles, and then another season that has something that seems a little more recognizable, or has like a crazy title that will hook people in, and next season we're looking for more recognizable intellectual properties.
How many shows do you guys produce a year there?
4 shows and 2 benefits. And next year we will also be producing or presenting, we think, some monthly programs. So, well, I can't really talk about it actually, because no contracts have been signed. But there are New Jersey artists who have their own work that we'd like for improv shows and magic shows and those sorts of things, just to present them in our space.
Right.
So we're looking for more opportunities like that. At this point, we'd like to also in December have a Diwali festival, because we want to make sure that we're inviting the South Asian community of Hudson County into our space. Yeah, all of those things.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that it sounds like it's kind of flexible. Like one year you guys do more obscure stuff. One, are you looking to have a more set season? Kind of like, how certain, theaters have like certain slots that they have.
Yes.
Like, we have a musical, we have this, we have.
Yes. So our slots are something in the fall, something for Christmas, something in the winter, like March. Like right now we have a play that we're producing right now that opens in a couple weeks, and then another thing in the spring. And one thing is normally a children's play that we can try to book with school groups, and this year our children's play may also be our holiday play at the same time, so that we're combining those things together and increasing the length of the run of the play, so that we can then in the evenings present some like a monthly show, or a solo play festival of some sort, just to have a lot of life in the space.
Right. That's awesome. So my audience that I'm trying to build on this podcast is mostly actors, obviously. And I'm just curious, as someone who's been on both sides of the table, do you have advice especially for, early career actors or people that are thinking of moving to the city, or maybe your past self, do you have any advice that you would give to someone?
Yes, I do. The advice is become a member of a community or two or three or four. Like, don't or at least be a part of several communities, like if you know of a theater. I mean, Miles Square Theater is the kind of place where you could just decide to come see a ticket and come see the show. And we're such a small organization that we're accessible, that you can reach out to us and ask us questions, and you can come to events and meet us. And there are other organizations that are like that. It's not the same with like the Broadway community, and it's not the same with the off-Broadway community. I don't know where to go for them to just sort of meet people. I don't know. But there are lots of independent theater outfits in Manhattan. And what I did was I just sort of knew everybody. This show looks interesting. I'm going to go to the show. And back when the New York International Fringe Festival was a thing, I was there all the time.
Right.
And they always had a lounge where you could hang out. And it just sort of created community among artists. And so I would say become a part of a community, or put your face in the place as often as possible. When I was the artistic director of the Fire This Time Festival, which is a platform for early career playwrights would reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time and say, hey, I want to write for the Fire This Time Festival. And I would say, have you ever seen any of our shows? And they would say no. And I would say, okay, well, the first thing you need to do is to come to a show, come to the festival and see what we do, and then find me and say hello. I think what the mistake that we all make, and I made it, was thinking that I was going to get off the bus from North Carolina and just make a splash, and just believed that was what, because I was that talented, and that people were just going to see me, and they, I'm drinking a malted in a soda shop, and all of a sudden I'm a star.
What year was this with the malted? The 1950s?
I'm Rita Hayworth. Isn't that how she was discovered? But I think that's the thing, though, is that we all believe that we're just going to make a splash. It's just going to happen, and I wish that for everyone. I want that to be your story. I would love for you to take Broadway by storm. I would love that. It is not the way it happens all the time, and I love my career. I've had a wonderful career. I'm not done yet. I really, really love it. But I have had to work very hard to get what I get. And so what I would say to young actors is put yourself out there all the time. Do it. Go see shows. See the shows. Go to places where the tickets are less expensive, and then find out, and then reach out to every artistic director that you can, and just say, hey, I'm around. How do I get to audition for you, or what, or anything, and then recognize when somebody offers you an opportunity that does not pay, that pays you nothing. Recognize that. Really think about it before you just say absolutely not, because things have changed. Everybody wants to be paid. Everybody wants to be paid these days, but things haven't changed enough for theaters to be able to offer pay.
Right.
And so and I'm not telling you to work for free all the time. I'm not saying that at all. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if a person hears about you or knows about you and offers you a gig that's like for 5 days and it pays you nothing, but maybe it pays food, think about, Google it. Google the person who offered it. See if there's somebody that you know who knows them, so that they know that, so that you know that they're not the kind of people who are going to suck your blood and leave you for dead, right? Recognize that you're putting savings in a bank. And there could be a time when you could take those savings out and use them at another time. And also, or that, I know from me, I often ask people to do things because I believe in their talent and recognize and hope and pray that there is another time that I can work with them and give them some money when we work together.
Right.
More than the last time we worked together. I know that that's the thing that I want to do. I also don't have any hard feelings for people who don't want to work for free at all, because I am one of those people who doesn't necessarily want to work for free. But I am doing this podcast, and you are not paying me to do this podcast, because I thought it was important to put my name out there in a way that makes sense. I chose an hour that I was free, and I said yes to that. So I think that what we're not teaching our young people is that is how to invest in a career. And I asked you how you knew me, and you're like, you keep coming up. And I think I keep coming out because I'm always putting myself out there somehow.
Right.
And, I'm mid-50s and I've been around for a long time in the circles of the tri-state area trying to make a career. And I think that I think that people who don't know me, who look at me and see me working, don't know the number of emails that I sent out. Don't know the number of times I spoke to my manager today to find out, what can we do about this offer that we received? Or should I reach out to this publisher or that publisher to see if I can audition for anything that's coming up? I'm still in the trenches trying to make a career.
Right.
And it doesn't happen if you don't make it happen. And so, I just say that to say, before you fight the oppressor, know who the oppressor is. Which is a whole other, it's a whole other thing, is that, I don't see myself as the oppressor if I ask you to do a show that I'm doing also.
Right.
And I'm not getting anything, Anyway,
right. I think, yeah, I love that. What I tell people is that, I thought the same thing. I thought, I'm going to get an agent, and my agent's going to make my career, and that's how it's going to work. I'm like, but now I realize you're your own agent always. Even if you have an agent and manager, you are your agent for your life. Like you said, you're doing stuff behind the scenes, you're pitching yourself, you're sending emails, you're getting involved, you're going to shows, you're understanding people, you're meeting people, you're just being a person with other people. That's how it works. Like, people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And it takes time to develop those relationships. It's not like you said, you don't just get off the bus and suddenly you have a career. I hope that happens too. But for most people, and it's more rewarding though to be in the trenches and to, I think people discount the hard work of it, but it's also the enjoyable work. To me, it's like theater's always been about connection with other people. You're connecting on stage with another actor, you're connecting with the audience is connecting with you. It's this exchange of energy that you don't find in any other medium, in my experience. No. And that's what makes theater that's lasted for millennia. That's why it's an old art form. It's not like film and TV where it's a newer art form. It's like there's a reason that it's existed for so long.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard. It's like you said, you're in the trenches and you're trying to make your career work, and it's And I'm the same way. I mean, it's a daily task of figuring out what's next and what's on the horizon, and finding the balance between the artistic side and the business side, you know?
Yeah.
Is there where do you find yourself as far as, like balancing the business of acting with like the art of it? Like obviously you have a lot of roles in that, with everything you do, but like you have an agent and a manager and
yeah, I have a manager and I have a commercial agent, but everything goes through my manager.
right.
And we're now looking for an agent for my directing. So I mean that's where I find myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He still submits me for acting jobs, and if it's theater and it's out of town, I almost always say no to that, to those appointments, because it's harder to focus on running Mile Square Theater as an actor than it is as a director when I'm out of town. So, so when you say where do I find myself there, I mean, yeah, that's where I am. I mean, with audiobooks and audio projects in general, they just come to me, and then I always add my manager to it.
Right.
I get a lot of hits on my website, and so and even there, like somebody offered me something recently to play a part in an audio drama, and I said no because but it wasn't because of the salary that they were offering. It was because the salary was not correct, and it was also because I spend as much time on the things that pay less as I do with the things that pay more.
Right.
So if I were to spend an entire day recording this thing that they wanted me to record, it's more than a day, because I have to read it in preparation, and then I have to record it, and then invariably they'll say, "Hey, you mispronounced this word, or the tone wasn't quite right on this. Can you do this again?" And there's not anything. They're not giving me anything more for my time, and so. But saying no to that was hard. Because I'm still an actor. I'm still like, oh, you asked me to do something. Of course I want to do it. I really want to, like, please. Oh, you love me. Oh, that's great. I really want to do it. But I talked to my manager, and he was like, don't do it. You can't do it. You need to make room for the things that you know that you can do, and that people will pay you to do. And that's mostly because my voice is a thing. It's the thing that people pay me the most for. So I have to really kind of I have to be more choosy about that kind of stuff.
How did you get involved? So, what kind of voiceover stuff do you do mostly?
Only audiobooks and audio drama. I don't do voiceovers.
Okay.
I wish I did voiceovers because they pay so well.
Yeah.
The difference between the two is that with a voiceover is you spend like a half hour in a studio for a radio spot or a television commercial or something, and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for audiobooks are like the theater of the voiceover world. You work really hard on them,
right.
And you do get paid well, but you don't get residuals, and
it's a lot more work.
It's a lot.
Instead of saying one line for a 15-second commercial and getting paid the same as an audiobook, you do an entire audiobook.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And I do audio dramas too. I'm the voice of Kevin on Welcome to Night Vale, and I am right now. There's an audio drama out called Ask Your Father that I play a role. I play artificial intelligence in that. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the voiceover world, the commercial voiceover world. You're not necessarily an actor. You're just a voice.
Right.
With the personality that a producer is looking for. And so with the work that I do as with my voice, it's still acting. I still have to prepare, and I still have to figure all of that out. So it scratches the acting itch for me, and is plenty. And I don't have to leave home.
Do you have any tips on getting into that kind of work? Because obviously a lot of actors during the pandemic kind of, were more interested in it because that's the only kind of work that was sort of available for a while.
Yeah. The advice I can give is Amazon has a self-publishing arm called ACX. So if you go to acx.com and create a profile there, they'll also show you exactly how to build your own studio at home. But if you record samples of your voice and upload them there, then you can also submit yourself for work. And when you want to do an audiobook demo, it's basically you need to do like 3-minute samples. Hold on one second. Do you need me? Oh, okay. 3-minute samples from, books that you like. And
right.
You upload those. There are people, if you are a member of that very old platform, Facebook, there are a couple of groups where you can join, and they'll also help you put together a studio, that kind of thing. As for how to get a job, gosh, ACX is like the self-publishing thing is really the easiest way. And they'll pay you 2 different ways. There's a royalty share, or they'll pay you an hourly. And I would say for your first book, do a royalty share so that you can get an idea. It pays, but you're not going to get a lot of money, but you are definitely going to get the experience, and then you will be able to say to yourself, oh, this is an experience that I like. This is an experience that I want to do. This is the experience, because the experience of doing audiobooks is not fun and games. It is often you're sitting in a studio like this little room that I'm in right now for 4 to 5 hours.
Right.
And those are short days. That's a short day. And so I would say do royalty share and see if you like that. And then once you've done the royalty share, then you have a sample of a book that you've already recorded. You can use that as one of your demos, and you slowly replace the little demos that you made on your own in your closet or whatnot. And then you just build from there. But I will say also that, again, have a healthy relationship with failure, because we don't ever get the thing that we got on the first try, the thing that we're doing on the first try. It's just not how it works. So you might be, a friend of mine just started doing audiobooks, and I had been referring her to people who had employed me for 15 years. And during the pandemic, she finally got in, and now is, not a full-time narrator, but she supplements her income pretty well with it. So, 15 years. 15 years I had been trying to get her in.
Wow.
So, it is definitely worth a shot.
It's a long game, though, for sure.
But it is a long game. Just like a career. Every career is a long game.
Sometimes I think about, there's so many, everyone's about the side hustle now, necessarily for most people. I mean, my thing is even Ryan Reynolds has companies. He's not just acting. At all levels of the industry, people have multiple things that they do, and that's the norm. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it can all feel like a hustle, like you're auditioning for audiobooks, you're auditioning for regular, theater or film or TV or whatever. And I've found that I need something not stable, but that I need something that I can hang my hat on, that I have more control over.
Yes.
And I found that through writing. Like I've recently, kind of what you said about when you decided to say you're a director, like when you kind of owned that identity, I guess, that
Yeah.
was a part of you. That's kind of what I've recently found. And I know you're a writer as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, such as it is, yes.
So I'm kind of, I try and tell people too to just, and I got this advice from another actor a long time ago, but he said, have something outside the industry that is of interest to you. And maybe it's a relationship that's a foundation for you, or your family, or a hobby, or an interest, or something. Like you said, don't just be all about the work, like be a person and enrich yourself as a person.
Yeah.
Because it all feeds into it.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you, in your offstage life, I'm curious what your interests or hobbies might be.
Yeah. I don't. So, before I started doing audiobooks, I was an avid reader.
Okay.
So when I became an audiobook narrator and the work started to pop off, I stopped reading for pleasure, because every time I picked up a book for pleasure, I had to put it down because I had to prep an audiobook. So, and I sort of just really hoped and prayed that I would start doing books that were more interesting to me. And I'm finally at that place where all of the reading that I do for audiobooks is super interesting to me. So that part is great. So that said, when I read for pleasure, I read articles about theater and, no lie, recipes. I love reading recipes. I love especially the recipes that I'm never going to be able to tackle at home.
Really?
So I'm a cook, and I love to cook, and it's one of my favorite things. I actually just started a cooking project so Bon Appetit released their 56. They were like 56, either their favorite recipes of 2023. Hold on, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look for it right now. It's every recipe from the Bon Appetit 56 is what the link is. So the Bon Appetit 56, I have no idea why it's called the Bon Appetit 56, but I have, and that's basically a recipe per week for a year.
Right.
And so I just decided that I was going to start doing this list of recipes.
Like one a week kind of thing, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's some of them I'll do but won't eat. Like there's things that I shouldn't have, like the giant panna cotta. and as I look at this list, I think, oh, I've done this. I mean, I probably won't make the lamb keema tacos. I'll make them, but I won't make them with lamb.
Right.
I mean, I could. I like lamb. Anyhow,
Ooh, tater tot tortilla española.
Which one?
Tater tot tortilla española.
I mean, come on, right?
That sounds amazing, actually.
Right. So, I think I'm going to be doing a lot of these recipes, and I love to cook, and it really kind of sustains me. It feels kind of both creative and also a challenge, and not a thing that makes me, if I fail, it doesn't make me feel like I'm a terrible person. I mean, in general, I'm good with failure, but I'm not. I love food, so I feel like if I know what I put into it, I know that I'm not gonna hate it, even if I would never serve it to anybody else.
Right.
So when I cook anything, it still feels like I accomplished something because I get to nourish myself.
Yeah, I mean, you have to eat, so
That's right.
That's a good interest to have. I wish I shared that interest. Because that's one of the things I wish I would have learned like earlier, like how to cook at least like basic dishes. I mean, it's
Dude,
hard.
wait. You're in your 30s, right?
Yeah.
That's when I
cook.
started cooking.
Really? Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You really listen. People like to talk a lot of shit about Rachel Ray, but I was on an airplane. I was on a JetBlue flight when I was like 32, 33 years old, and her show 30-Minute Meals came on, and I was watching. And I was like, "Who is this cuckoo?"
On the plane?
And on the plane, and I was just watching her cook, and I found myself really loving watching her cook and loving hearing her talking about cooking, and the fact that she wasn't a chef was really interesting to me. And then, I mean, the next thing I knew, I bought like some pans that were branded with her name and her 30-minute meal cookbooks, and I started cooking her simple 30-minute meals for myself and watching her as I cooked, and so that's how I learned how to cook. The older I get, the more I want to try some complicated things. And because I'm me, I don't have like the only go-to meals that I have are eggs.
Hey, a good
boiled
egg.
or scrambled.
Can't argue with a good egg, you know.
And an avocado toast. Those are like go-to things for me.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I like to try new things when I'm cooking, and I make things like, oh, this is really great. I'm gonna make this again.
Do you do you meal prep or do you like daily cook?
Daily cook most of the time.
Okay.
When I go out of town to do a show, like when I was in Portland doing The Play That Goes Wrong, the first 2 weeks I knew what I was going to be cooking while I was there because I knew I was going to be extra busy. So I did meal prep at the beginning of each week to be ready to cook the stuff. But that's not always the prep sometimes is a part of the unwinding of the day.
Right.
Like grabbing the onions and the garlic and chopping that up and getting it ready to cook is often just part of getting it ready. And often when I'm cooking, I read the recipe like 10 times before I even begin.
Really? That's
It's
that's so funny. Yeah, that is a little obsessive.
I'll read it like 10 times before I begin cooking because I'm thinking about like how can I. It's funny, my husband always makes fun of me. He's like, "Are you following the recipe or are you wildcatting? Like what are you you know?" But I'm like
Wildcatting.
And sometimes I'm following the recipe, but other times I think, I can cook the chicken. So like yesterday I did the first meal that I was going to try, and it's called the Halal Cart chicken salad. And so the chicken is supposed to be a rotisserie chicken, and there are pita chips on the salad, and it's supposed to be like, bagged pita chips. But I was like, I'm gonna bake my own pita chips. I'm gonna figure that out. So I got pita bread and I cut it up and I made pita chips, and it's really good. They're really good chips. And then for the chicken, I didn't have a rotisserie chicken because I have chicken breasts in the freezer. So I thawed it and I cooked the chicken. But I was thinking, like, what can I do in advance before I'm cooking, before I eat, so I can get this done? So, and that's often why I will read the recipe like 10 times, is because I want to think about like managing my time. How am I gonna do this, and then what am I gonna? So I'll chop this first, and I know myself well enough to know that I'm not like I don't chop like fast like the people on TV, so I know that it all has to be prepped before I put anything in the pan. So I'm not going to like chop as I go. Like you watch those people chopping and throwing them in the pan and chopping and throwing. Like it makes me too nervous.
Is it mise en place, or where you like get everything ready at the beginning?
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I do that. I do that first. I
Isn't
feel
it
like
stressful though to get like to make dishes and then be like I have to clean these dishes, and that's
no.
the part that gets me, I guess.
I was raised washing dishes by hand. We had a dishwasher my whole life, and my father was like,
You never
"You were
used
washing
it?
dishes." We never used it. It was his way of. It was his way of. I guess teaching us discipline. He was like, what if you get a job as a dishwasher somewhere? I was like, I'm not going to get a job as a dishwasher. I'm not going to do that.
Maybe
I'm not
that's
going to
it.
do that.
One of my first jobs was as a dishwasher at my college, so maybe that's
Aha.
why. And now I
See?
don't have one, being in New York. Like not a lot of people have them. So
Yeah. No, I love washing dishes. I hated it when I was a kid, but I really love washing dishes now. So, my husband is really good when he cooks. He's really good at washing things as he goes.
right,
And I'm good at first. And then after a while, I'm like, I'll tackle it later. And what I think I love most of all is like doing something, a one pot meal or like a one sheet pan meal, so that when the pot is finally on the stove and it's cooking for like the next 45 minutes, I can spend that time drinking wine and washing dishes.
right.
So
Liners have changed my life because I have this liners for like an air fryer. So I just
yes,
there's like a parchment paper liner,
yes,
and I love that. And then I have a liner for the what is it, the slow cooker,
oh yeah,
which
for
is
your
great.
instant pot or the
Just a plain old slow cooker. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it works. It works.
So
It helps.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Liners.
Last week I made this really good lentil soup with sausage and spinach in my Instant Pot. It was
Ooh.
I don't use the Instant Pot for like pressure cooking or anything like that. I just use it as a slow cooker
Right.
all the time. And this soup was redonkulous. I mean, it was so good.
Was it from the Bon Appetit 56 or was it a
It
different?
was not. It was
Okay.
not. But I think it was a Bon Appetit recipe. Hold on. Hold on. No, actually, it's a New York Times cooking recipe.
I love the New York Times. I found a coconut curry recipe that's like, or a coconut chickpea curry recipe that I've made many times, and it's super good.
Yes. So, the emails that they send every day, I read those emails.
Read the emails.
I read them. I mean, I read them. I read them and I click the links on them. Today's recipe of the day is a lasagna soup,
Ooh.
it's like a deconstructed lasagna, which seems super interesting.
Yeah.
There's also in the same email a miso mushroom barley soup, which my husband and I were just looking at, thinking, hey, let's make that.
Miso is amazing.
Food is amazing, James.
Food is amazing. I love the detour that we've taken. This is amazing.
I feel like I'm most passionate about things that I'm not. There's no pressure. I'm most passionate about cooking meals, and less passionate about my work.
But it does have to do with acting because, like, maybe, when I've lived in some not great apartments, and like having to figure out how to cook is like, you want to, especially if you're an early career actor, you probably want to save money, and
yeah,
cooking's the way to do that,
Yeah.
And I wish I was a better example of that, but we all got to eat, right? So
yeah, you're a work in progress. It seems like you cook enough. You make the chickpea curry.
Yeah.
And
because you know what? Want to know why? Because it's like mostly from canned ingredients. It's canned pumpkin, canned chickpeas, canned.
Yeah.
So it's like easy to have as a pantry. You can have basically all of it as a pantry, but it still tastes really fresh together.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Yes.
But the one pot stuff, I'm totally down with. Like, that's amazing.
And I think you should continue down that road.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. Allow that to happen.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
It's good.
That's amazing.
Although I have to say, my pita chips today, really good.
Yeah.
I made another batch because I ate them all.
You make
yesterday.
them fresh? How do you make fresh
Well,
pita?
you take it. If you get pita bread at the grocery store,
Right.
and if you have kitchen shears,
Oh.
you cut because they're pockets basically. You can open the pita and you can.
Right.
So you cut them around the edge, so you basically have two round pieces of pita. So I did that with two of the pita pockets, and then I put olive oil on. I made sure that they were covered with olive oil, then seaweed salt, and I use za'atar seasoning on them. So make sure that they're covered both sides with olive oil, and then you put the salt on there, and then you cut them into little triangles, spread them out evenly on a pan, but you cannot use parchment paper.
Why not?
I know. I'm so
I
sorry.
told you
say
about
this.
my liners.
I know. I'm so sorry that I had to tell you this.
Foil? Aluminum foil?
No.
What?
No. I mean, maybe foil would be fine.
Okay.
But maybe foil would be fine, actually, because it's another metal surface. But so if you use aluminum foil, make sure it's super flat on the thing. And I would also say it might be a good idea to heat the pan with the olive oil first. Or not the olive oil. Heat the pan with the aluminum foil first.
Right.
Put it out of the oven. And then put the pita chips all in one layer on the pan. Just because of the two layers of the aluminum foil, the heat has to go through the pan and the aluminum foil. So you want them to be directly onto a metal surface.
Right.
And I think it would take too long to get the aluminum foil hot enough to make the chips as crisp as you need them to be.
Right.
So you put I just in 425 in the oven for 7 minutes. Take them out. It doesn't matter whether you think that they're crispy enough or not. 7 minutes is all they can bear. Do it. Because yesterday I did 10 minutes and they were a little too dark. Anyhow, pull them out of the oven and just leave them on the pan. Let them cool on the pan, and they get nice and crispy. Put them in Tupperware. Eat the shit out of them.
Chef Kevin. I love it.
You had no idea. I had
no idea. Rachel Ray, man. I
know.
I didn't know she wasn't a chef. I thought so her thing is like she's not a trained chef or something.
Yeah, she's just a home cook. She just likes to cook.
I love that.
I'm pretty sure she's not a chef. I mean, I don't know. After a while, I found she fell out of favor with me.
Right.
But I am super grateful that I saw her on that JetBlue flight and thought, oh, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And started cooking,
I love that. Maybe this is my origin story for cooking.
How dare you, sir?
Kevin R. Free, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, and thanks everyone for listening. Is there any place to connect with you that you prefer?
You can go to my website, www.kevinrfree.com. If you want to audition at Mile Square Theater for anything, go to my email address. There is krfree@mile, M-I-L-E, square, S-Q-U-A-R-E, theater, theatre.org. KR-free, Mile Square Theater. All of that.
All that. Perfect. Nailed it. That was amazing.
Nailed it. I mean, I think if you Google me, you can find me, and I'm happy to respond. I'm happy for you to reach out and get in touch.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I learned a lot, and I had a good time chatting. So
great.
I Hope you did as well. And,
Same. I did.
Awesome.
All right.
Alrighty.
I will talk to you.